Hey guys, welcome to today's video and welcome on into my beauty stash. Today we're going to talk about 10 fall palettes you likely already have in your stash. Today's video is going to be all about revisiting palettes of the past, so that way you don't feel overwhelmed, you don't get FOMO, maybe you're on a no buy, maybe you're on a low buy, and you don't get discouraged if you can't pick up every single palette. And you guys know I'm going to try it all out for you this season in fall and winter. I'm going to try out as much as I can, but I do realize that this is a very busy, very expensive next few months for a lot of us. From August going into December, we have so many holidays, there's a lot of school events, so makeup can sometimes take a back burner to that. And I want to just revisit some amazing fall palettes of the past, and that way hopefully you guys will remember to pull these palettes out, maybe from the back of the drawer, the back of the shelf, and start using them more so on a daily basis. Now, for me personally, I use all palettes all year round, but I know for some of you out there, you like to categorize your palettes and only use them within a certain season. I think that's great. That's wonderful. But I hope that today's video gives you guys some inspiration. And I do want to let you know that some of these palettes are still available in case you missed out and now you're ready to buy. You'll be able to do so. Some were limited edition, no longer available. I think one is on pre-order, but I have a lot of amazing finds in this one, and I hope you guys really find it helpful. If it is your first time here on my channel, let me just say hello and welcome. My name is Steff, and I love talking about makeup. I love trying new makeup. I love doing eyeshadow looks. You guys will see this look go up probably the same day or maybe the day after as the YouTube short and Instagram reel. I did use the Mojito Because Summer palette from Sugar Drizzle. This is their latest palette, but we just have fun with makeup here. We talk about makeup, we play with it. If that sounds great to you, I want to invite you to become part of our makeup family. Do me a favor, click on that subscribe button, hit the bell next to it. That way you can be notified every time I do drop a new video. And if you like makeup as much as I do, give this video a thumbs up before you go. Let's get started, guys. If you all want to see my top 10 best fall palettes of the past, things you likely already have in your stash, keep on watching. Okay, so we're gonna start next with the Teeniest and Tiniest palette. I believe this was a winter release of last year, and this is the Petits Violetta palette from Viseart. This was a collection of 3 or 4 different quads. I don't fully remember, but I do know that this was my favorite. I think this could be my favorite Viseart palette of them all, and I try a lot of Viseart. I'm gonna have my eyeshadow playlist linked in a pinned comment because I pretty much have reviews and swatches, tutorials over all of these 10 palettes I'm gonna be discussing with you guys today, so definitely check that out. In this palette, you're getting 2 amazing shimmer shadows. They have nice shifts to them. I would venture to say that one of them is a duochrome, could be this one. You have a sequin shade, which is basically a matte shadow with a little bit of sparkle in it, and then you have this dark matte shade. This is beautiful. This is for me, I don't reserve, like, I use these palettes year round, and I would hope that you guys do too, but I know there's a lot of you out there, you like to categorize your palettes and only use them, you know, within the season. I totally get that. It makes sense. But this is a really beautiful fall going into winter color story. This is definitely, you know, holiday-ish. It could be definitely like your New Year's Eve quad, and it's very easy to travel with. You can also pop out the shades and put them in your own magnetic palette. These Petits IV palettes from Viseart tend to retail for $25. I know they were having a sale the other day. I saw that on their website, so maybe you didn't get this one. Maybe now you're realizing you want to get it. Grab it if it's on sale, but if you did buy it and you haven't used it, now's the time to start bringing it out. Next on my list is a palette from an indie makeup brand. It's from Bella Beaute Bar. I do have a code with them. I believe it is Steff or Steff10. It'll be right here. But I don't think the brand expected this palette to do as well as it has done. And I don't think they expected to still be taking pre-orders on this palette, because I do think pre-order is available as of right now for this palette. And I'm talking about Strange and Unusual. So when I did my initial review and tutorial over this, I had not seen the movie Beetlejuice. I know I'm 41 years old. Where have I been all these years? But with your encouragement, I watched the movie. I loved it. I like watched it a dozen times during like the Halloween season, fall season last year. I loved it. And now that I've seen the movie, all of the shade names make sense. This is a beautiful color story, guys. The multi-chromes, the duochromes, the shimmers are the standout of this palette. This is my favorite Bella Beaute bar, and I've tried a lot of Bella Beaute bar, but this one is definitely my favorite. I love it. The only thing I will tell you is this green right here, Recently Deceased. I would put a white base down and then go on top of it with the shade to really make it pop. But other than that, use a little bit of a glitter primer or whatnot. Bella Beaute bar makes one. They have a nice eyeshadow primer, and then you're gonna create beautiful looks with this one if you haven't already. I want to know how many of you guys picked this one up, because this one has been selling out, and they're restocking and restocking. Again, this one is on pre-order. If you didn't grab it last year and you're just like kicking yourself because you didn't grab it, I would say this would be the year to get it, because I honestly don't know how much longer they're going to be restocking this one. It is on pre-order. I think that was the last time I heard about the status of this palette, but it's really a beautiful palette, and it's my favorite from the brand. So next is a palette I'm sure a lot of you bought. And if you didn't buy it when it was released last fall, then maybe you've bought it over the course of this past year, because the Natasha Denona My Dream palette, Natasha has been releasing or been doing a lot of sales on her website. So maybe you got this a couple months ago. Maybe you got this last week, or maybe you bought this when it was released. Bring it out and start using it if you haven't been already. This was her fall release for last year. It did come, there was a whole set, a My Dream collection set with her Natasha shade lipstick, which is a beautiful lipstick shade, a lip liner, and then this palette. There could have been some eyeliners. I don't think I got any of the eyeliners. I just really remember the lip kit and of course this palette. I really love this palette. These are the shades that Natasha reaches for. These are the shades that if she was only going to use one palette for the rest of her life, it was going to be this one. I love that she included one of her best selling shades, one of her best shades, which is the Blackest Black shade. This is a very buildable, blendable black shadow. That's what I look for in a black shadow. I don't want it to be just like really intense upon application. I want to be able to build into my desired pigmentation, the depth, and so on and so forth. And I can do that with this palette. This is a very warm tone color story. So for those of you that really love warm tones for fall, this is going to be perfect. But look at this little pink shadow down here. I love this pop of pink. And you guys know pink has been like the color of the summer of the year. Let's just face it, because of the Barbie movie. I really like that she included this. I've had a good time with it. I've been using this year round. But if you haven't used it since last fall, now's the time to go grab it from the back of the drawer or from the back of the shelf and bring it to the forefront. Next is a palette, a collab palette that was so well received. It is in stock right now. I do have a code for this one in case you're wanting to buy anything now or in the future from this brand, and I'm talking about the Gourmand Girls and Doodles by the Bunny Spooked palette. This was their Halloween release for last year. This has some beautiful duochromes, amazing matte shadows. Gourmand Girls is one of those brands that they just keep getting better and better with every new release. Their formula, they've changed their formula since like over the last 2 years, the brand has updated their formula, and I could really tell. Like, I really started noticing that last year with the palettes they were releasing, like Ethereal and Radioactive, and then especially with Spooked, because of these beautiful matte shadows. This shadow right here is one of my favorite matte shadows of all time. Like, to me, this shadow, which is called Fright, performs so well. It is like the perfect shade for the outer corner. You can even put it into the crease, all over the lid, do it on the lower lash line. It's just, to me, this is just such a good shade. I love this color story. Doodles by the Bunny, she is over like on Instagram and stuff, and she dreams up and designs fictitious palettes, and I'm so glad that Gourmand Girls has collaborated with her on several other palettes, because Angela, that's her name, Doodles by the Bunny, she has an eye for color. She has an eye for color stories. Nightshade is the most recent collaboration from Gourmand Girls and Angela, Doodles by the Bunny. That is a beautiful palette, but look at Spooked again. Don't forget about Spooked, because now is the time for all of these warm tone purple shades, the oranges, the plums, and this one is a fantastic palette to get or to bring out again from Doodles by the Bunny and Gourmand Girls. Okay, so I know a lot of you probably picked up Tarte Maneater palette. Can we just like give it up for the packaging? I think this is some of their best packaging out of all of their products. So it'd been a long time, a while, that I didn't buy like a Tarte eyeshadow palette, just because, you know, I love colorful makeup and they do a lot of neutrals, and this is a neutral palette, but this just really caught my eye, and I think it was because of the packaging and because of this green shade here, and it just looked different. It looked different from the brand, and it performs really well. I think a lot of you probably got this for Christmas last year, or maybe you got it for your birthday or anniversary, but bring this out again. If you haven't used it in a while, if you haven't used it since getting it when it launched last year, this palette is definitely worth using again. Like, you have everything you need in here. It has a nice little weight to it. I wouldn't really travel with this palette. It's a little too big, but to use, you know, on the daily, this is a very nice, solid, neutral palette. Bring it out again, put it on display. But I've been loving this one, and it still performs really well for me. So next, I have a palette that I myself have even forgotten about. And I think this was my very first purchase from the brand. This was like, I think 3 years ago. So the brand has undergone a name change. And I'm talking about, not Alien, Unearthly Cosmetics Not Normal palette. So this was my very first purchase from the brand. And I do want to let you guys know, for those of you that have been asking, I have an affiliate code now with Unearthly Cosmetics, and it is Steff. It'll give you 10% off of your order. They just offered me that a few days ago. I'm so excited. So that'll definitely be in the description box, and of course down here you've already seen it. But this was my first purchase from the brand, and what an amazing first impression. I need to keep this up here. I need to keep this up here. But this palette is so grungy, beautiful, fall vibes all around. I mean, this has something for everybody. I love this shade right here. This is the best brown, blackish, grayish shade. It just, man, these still feel, 3 years later, still feels buttery smooth. I think this is even better than a matte black. Like, I'd rather work with a shade like this than a matte black all day long. I love, of course, the green with the yellow and then the fun pop of purple. This is just a beautiful, well done color story. I think that it is still in stock. I'm hoping that it is, in case you've never heard of it and you want to get it now after seeing it. But if you have it, now's the time to start using it, because Don't be like me and forget about, you know, your palettes of the past. It still works. 3 years later, this palette is still performing well, and this color story never gets old. It never goes out of style. So next is a palette that dropped winter of last year. So it was towards the end of last year, December 2022. I'm talking about Coffee Shop palette. How many of you guys picked this up? This was a full collection, I think. I want to say that there were lip glosses. I did pick up a lip gloss. I think there was lip glosses, and there was something else released alongside this collection. This is a basic brown coffee inspired eyeshadow palette that performs great. I mean, if these are the shades that you wear on the daily, then you've probably been using this palette ever since you picked it up, ever since it came out in December of 2022. The good thing about Juvia's place is on their website, they're always running sales, and Ulta is always having sales, and usually they include Juvia's place in those sales. It's an affordable brand to begin with, but this was a really nice one. I created some really nice looks with this palette, and while I don't reach for it that often just because, well, I try a lot of makeup, but you know, I go more for colorful looks. Those of you that are into your neutrals, I would imagine you have this already, and I imagine that some of you may have hit pan in some of the shades already. I want to know, if you picked this palette up, have you panned it yet? Sound off in the comments down below. But in case you were wondering about this one, or maybe you'd forgotten about it and you have it in your stash, I know there's some of you that have makeup palettes or eyeshadow palettes, and you've had them for years, like not years, but you've had them for months, and they're unopened, and you forget to use them, or maybe you don't want to use them because you want to preserve them. Don't save anything. Don't save anything for special occasions, especially when it comes to makeup, because makeup can expire. I know powders last a lot longer than liquids, but every day is a special occasion. Use your makeup, and if you have this one, use it, and I hope you're loving it. Okay, so the quintessential fall palette does exist, and it is thanks to Nomad Cosmetics and the Hudson Valley palette. This was a nice take on a fall palette, like a Halloween release palette, because it was not a Halloween based palette. This was truly a fall inspired palette, and I do believe this is in stock. I have a code with Nomad Cosmetics. I believe it is Steff or Steff10. I'm going to put it here, and that will give you 10% off of your order. But I liked that they didn't do a Halloween palette. Not everybody celebrates Halloween. I get it. I understand. This is for those of you that just want fall. You don't want the Halloween aspect attached to your eyeshadow palette. This is a beautiful palette full of matte shadows. So if you're a matte shadow lover, then you've probably hit pan in some of these already. This one only has 3 shimmer shadows, and it is this row right here. But I love it. I love that there's a cool tone side, and I love that there's a warm tone side. I think Nomad Cosmetics has a beautiful formula, and I loved that they did this as a traditional fall palette, not anything having to do with Halloween, and I think they did this one very well. So speaking of Nomad Cosmetics, a palette that I think has already been retired. This palette came out 2 or 3 years ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It definitely wasn't last year. I think it was the year before. Talking about Haunted Europe. So for those of you wanting, or that wanted a Halloween palette, this was it. And I do believe this year, the Nomad release for Halloween, I know they have something coming out. They have something coming out really soon. It could be, maybe I'll be getting it this week. I don't know. But they have a new palette on the way. I'm thinking that could be their Halloween palette. I'm not too sure. You guys, you know, all the holidays, they start months before the actual, you know, month that they're in. But Haunted Europe was an amazing palette. For those of you that have this, I would venture to say this is probably, I think this is the best-selling Nomad Cosmetics palette that they've ever had. And for those of you that have this palette, it could be your favorite Nomad Cosmetics palette. I love this palette. It's not my favorite, but I do love it. I love, again, more colorful makeup. So I have some of their other palettes like this size that are a little bit more my vibe that I would put like in the #1 spot, but this one is definitely in the top 3 just because I think it is so unique. And we have this fun pink up here, but we also have like this dark green, this dark blue, this like lavender grayish shade. Of course, we have an orange, this gunmetal shimmer shadow. I just think it was a cool palette. I think it's a really cool color story. Again, you are also getting cool tones and warm tones. That's what I love about Nomad Cosmetics. They include both undertones in their palettes usually, and I know a lot of you like that because let's be honest, a lot of eyeshadow palettes are more warm tone than they are cool tone, and I know some of you out there, you just crave the cool tone palette. So I would imagine a lot of you have already panned this. Maybe you've used it up already. I hope that if you wanted this palette, you were able to pick it up when it launched, or maybe a year later, because they did try and keep it in stock as often as they could. I do think this one has since been retired, but now is the season to bring it out, put it on display, because this is definitely one of the best from Nomad. And last but not least, I could not make this video without including one of my favorite palettes, Carvival, the Antidote palette from bPerfect Cosmetics, Carvival IV palette. This is a collaboration with Stacey Marie. She is a makeup artist. Do I need to say anything? Do you need another fall palette? No, this is the one and done. And again, if you have this one, I hope you've been using it year round. This is an amazing palette. I mean, I'm drawn to this side because I love the greens, obviously, and the yellow shadows, but I also love some nice orange tone, maroon shades, red shades, and then we have some more neutralness, like right here in the center, the pinks, the light tan. I mean, guys, fall in a palette. These are all the shades that you'll need. I love the bPerfect Cosmetics formula. They have an amazing eyeshadow palette formula. They are a UK-based indie makeup brand. I do believe this is still in stock. It's still around. It came out 2 years ago, I believe. And I believe you can get this one on Beauty Bay. And you can probably get it on sale too. So if you're wanting it, I would definitely pick it up because you never know, especially with collab palettes, how long they're going to stay in stock. And if you have it, let me know what your experience has been with it. I have 2 of these larger size Carvival palettes. I have Carvival 3 and I have this one, Carvival 4. I mean, I love them. I love them to pieces. bPerfect makes really good makeup, and it's usually at an affordable price point, and it's over there in the UK. So, you know, I know for some of you out there in the UK, it's hard for you to get the makeup that we have here in the US, but bPerfect is a great brand to check out if you haven't done so already. So with that, guys, we wrap up today's video. Now I want to hear from you. Let me know what some of your favorite fall palettes of the past have been. Did any of your favorites make my list? Sound off in the comments down below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching another one of my videos. You all have a great day or night wherever it is you all are at. Stay hydrated, guys. Drink your water. I'm going to see you all very soon. Bye.